Be confident, be bold, be authentic, but don't forget to take action. This is Ordinary to Badass, where our stories empower women to step into the spotlight of their own lives and pursue what they're truly passionate about. It's time to step into the arena and become more than just extraordinary. It's time to become a badass with your host, Marie Sonneman.
Hey, thanks for coming back to the show. Last episode, you heard from Corbie Mitlied, and Corbie is a psychic and does tarot card readings, and there was so much good stuff in the last episode. So today, you're going to hear 4 reasons why Corbie Mitlied is so badass. Definitely an episode you want to tune into. If you like Corbie's episode or this one, I would be so grateful if you left a 5-star rating and review on iTunes. The show is pretty badass, right? Maybe I'm a little bit biased. So, yeah, leave a 5-star rating and review. That way, other badasses just like you can find the show. Let's get to it. Welcome to Ordinary to Badass, episode number 242. In this episode, we're going to be talking about 4 reasons why Corbie Mitlied is so badass. So if you didn't listen to the last episode, go back, listen. Such a great episode. Corbie's very entertaining and just keeps you engaged in the conversation. So definitely an episode you want to listen to. But 4 reasons why Corbie is so badass. 1, she's a different kind of a healer. 2 is how she says to act like a Martian. 3, she changes her problems. And then 4, she's a cancer dancer. So let's get into it. I know you're busy, so just going to dig right in. So Corbie is a different kind of a healer. And if you listened to the last episode, she talked about how she was the black sheep of her family. Her family, doctors, lawyers, everybody with these big incomes, and then, or like these prestigious titles. And then there's her, right? And she is like a tarot card reader, and she believes in the supernatural stuff. So Corbie was saying she's a different kind of healer. A lot of her family are doctors. Well, she heals people in a different way. You don't have to see things the same way as your family, your friends, everybody around you. You can see things in your way. And so at least she was able to be like, okay, I'm a healer. I might not heal in the way they heal, but I can still do my work and I can still help people. Isn't that a big part of this world? Isn't that a big part of our jobs, our careers, being an entrepreneur, whatever you are, is like helping people, helping them get what it is that they want. That is huge. So sometimes you have to feel like the black sheep. And, Corbie even said that, her family sometimes thinks she's a fraud, or they don't agree with what she does. They don't understand what she does. It's not for them. Her work is not for them. They don't have to agree. And she is fully like, she admits that and she goes, okay, I just say live and be well. That's it. Live and be well. She doesn't even worry herself. She doesn't concern herself with the fact that they're not down with the kind of work she's doing. But she's following her own path. She knows what is meant for her. Are you following your own path? Do you feel like you're the black sheep in the family? So if you feel like you're the black sheep, are you letting that affect you? Maybe you're not doing what you want to do because you're like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be so different from everybody else. My whole family is doctors. My whole family is lawyers. They do all these things. They're so prestigious. Maybe I just got to find a way to fit in. Guess what? You don't. You don't have to fit in with anybody. You don't have to fit in with anybody else's idea of what you got to do for a career, how you got to have a family, who you have to marry. Ultimately, they're all up to you. It can be some hard decisions, right? Because everybody's not going to agree with what you do. And that can be really hard. And sometimes it gets easier as you make the decision. And the more that you say, oh, this is how I feel, this is my thing, live and be well, go do your thing, the more you say it, I'm going to venture to guess that the easier it becomes, because a lot of those hard things in our life where we feel resistance towards saying or towards doing, but we have this inner calling to do them. A lot of those hard things, once we have that tough conversation, or we speak up and we're like, no, this is my path, this is where I'm supposed to be, then that's when like the good stuff starts to come out, right? Because we're following our intuition, we're following our inner guidance system. And you're only going to get that when you're following it. Otherwise, you're too busy like, oh, don't want to offend her. I don't want him to say anything to me. That could be embarrassing, right? So it takes some practice. It takes some like build up this skill, build up this muscle of saying, okay, this doesn't work for me. That's not my path. That's not what I'm going to do. So be willing to be the black sheep. Like, sorry, my husky, my Kono bear came in here, but so if you hear him panting in the background, not me. But be willing to be the black sheep. Be different than all your siblings or your parents or your family. Who cares? Again, it's hard the first time. It's hard the second time. Maybe it's always going to sting a little, right? But there's something different that comes with when we're following our intuition and doing the things that we really want to be doing. So be a different kind of healer, or do your own work, right? Do the thing that works for you. It doesn't have to work for me. It doesn't have to work for Corbie. It just has to work for you, and follow your own path. All right. Second reason why Corbie Mitlied is so badass is because of her concept of acting like a Martian. Now, Corbie talks about asking these questions and doing it without judgment. And she talks about like, okay, you go and say you see somebody crying, and what are you going to do? Like, why are you crying? Which is what most people ask, right? Why are you crying? What's going on? Instead, she said, just an observer. Like, you don't know what's going on. Don't attach any judgment. Why is there water coming from your eyes? Who knows? Maybe they're not crying. Maybe they're not feeling a certain emotion. What if they have allergies, really bad allergies, and it's just causing their eyes to water? Just ask an objective question. And she talked about a guy who had some issue with his face. So it was not rearranged, but maybe, I don't even want to say deranged, but he somehow had issues with his face, and he had a wife and a daughter. And his daughter was like, oh, this picture would be better with mommy in it. And so of course he took it to mean like, oh, because I'm so ugly, or my face looks this way. Nope. If you're using Corbie's method of asking or acting like a Martian, then it's not about your face, right? You're just detaching judgment. Like, but why would you rather have mommy in it? Or tell me more, right? And then she's like, because she can't hold the camera still, but you can. Interesting. Otherwise, he probably would have suffered a lot of trauma for years and years and years for something she did not even mean. That was not her intention. She was saying he could take a good picture, get everybody in the frame. Mama couldn't do that. By the way, I feel like that was my mom growing up. She would take pictures and like cut off everybody's head. So everybody was like, Mom, don't take the pictures, right? Because I don't know if she had a shaky hand or what her thing was, but she'd always cut off everybody's head. But if you're not remaining neutral, if you're not asking the questions, then you're not going to know what the truth is. It's human nature to make assumptions, to assume we know what they're talking about, right? And in actuality, it's not true. Like the guy that had the messed up face, right? And then his daughter wanted mom to be in the picture because he could take a good picture. She could not. But otherwise, it would have caused years and years of trauma. And it's so easy to assume that we know what other people are thinking and what they are getting at. And sometimes we ask for clarification. Maybe it's not the answer we want, right? Maybe it's going to bring a little bit of sadness or trauma, and that's okay. At least then we know the definition, right? At least then we know what they were truly meaning. But I think that more times than not, we create our own narrative and we think that we know, when in actuality, we have no idea. All right. Number 3, the third reason why Corbie is so badass is because she changes her problems. Now, instead of saying, we got a problem here, Corbie doesn't say that. She's like, we have a challenge. So if I'm talking to you, I tell you, Missy, we got a problem. Or, hey, we're facing a challenge here. Which sounds better? Right? I just had a squirrel moment because when I said Missy, I thought of the show. I think it's on Netflix, The Wrong Missy. Pretty darn funny. Check it out if you haven't. Again, squirrel. But when you say we got a problem here, we're addressing something face on, and it feels a little accusatory, like we're coming at you. So maybe saying we got a problem here doesn't help. Instead, if you switch it to we have a challenge, then it's looking at it with a whole new perspective. It's like, yes, help me take on this challenge. We can do this. And it doesn't feel like, there's a problem. There's no way of fixing this. So we have a problem here. Or we're facing a challenge. Corbie is so good at looking at language, the small little nuances of language, because you know what? They can make a huge impact. The words we say can absolutely have an effect on the rest of our life. It can have an effect on how people interpret it. And I think we forget that so often, that the words we say definitely affect other people. So maybe being careful about them would be helpful. I know we often tend to talk a lot, right? Instead of listening, that's human nature. But then if we kind of switch it, like, okay, maybe I'm more careful about some of the words that I say so that people know that I want to work with them to accomplish a solution to this, as opposed to looking for the problem, right? But we have a challenge. We're going to come to a solution. We're going to do it together, because doing it together is also important. Who doesn't want their opinion heard? Most of us do. We at least want our opinion heard, even if things don't go our way. It's like, if my opinion's heard, then I'm going to feel much better about the situation, right? So work with people. Don't be afraid to say, okay, we've got a challenge. How can we figure this out? What are your ideas? Just ask. Just ask. That's it. All right. Fourth reason why Corbie Mitlied is so badass is because she's a Cancer dancer. Now, I love Corbie's open spirit and how she's so positive about Cancer. And it's not always easy. But when she got it, she's like, okay, what are 3 positive things that I can say about this? Right? And so she came up with 3 positive things she could say about having Cancer. And that's not easy. But then at least you have 3 things, right? And I was like, okay, well, how is this different from like positivity? Or how do you make it so it's like not toxic positivity? And she's like, well, you just got to look at things that are really positive, that are really a good thing coming out of what you're going through. And so you might have to dig deep. And I don't think Corbie was saying this, and I'm not saying this. Cry your eyes out. Take the first 24 hours and be upset. Take the first 3 hours and be upset. Take the first 48 hours. Take a little bit of time and more. If, there's nothing wrong with feeling your feelings and actually being upset and expressing it, but don't stay in that spot, right? So feel your feelings, feel how upset you are, and then move on. How can I move out of this situation? What about this situation is positive? What about this situation is in my benefit? So you have a choice. You can deal with it now, or you can try to deal with it later, right? But there's always these people we know in our lives that had something horrible, awful. Nobody wants to deal with or experience it. Like, say it's like a death of a child, right? Nobody wants to experience that. But then they stay in that for 20 years and they never move on. They never find a different way of dealing or coping. They're still in that same trauma of losing that person. So find something positive. Find something to your benefit, even if it's a bit like morbid or like makes you laugh because it's like crazy, right? Okay. Well, and like I think Corbie even said this, like, you don't have to get the mammogram every year, right? If she had to have a mastectomy, then she doesn't have to go get the mammogram every year and have her breasts mushed in between this thing like a pancake and hurting, right? And so she no longer has to do that. So consider that. What are the positives? What is going to help you with this situation? What is going to benefit you in this situation? And sometimes you find 3, then you can find 4, you can find 5. I'm not saying I'm always good at this, but it's not about toxic positivity. It's like, are you going to deal with this now? Or are you going to deal with this later? Are you going to have a pity party and camp out in the sadness and the anger and the hate? Or are you going to try to move through it? Because there's life after it. So it's going to be a little bit different for everybody, right? One person might be able to move on a little bit quicker than somebody else, but also I'm going to use a little plug here. If you are struggling, then it is the perfect time to find a coach, to find a counselor, a therapist. Especially I'm going to say, and I don't know why I was doing the quote signs, but especially I'm going to say a therapist, a counselor, somebody that you can go to, somebody that you can get professional help with and talk to about those problems. So yeah, if that a result of that stress, that trauma, that sadness, that anger, whatever came to financial problems, sure, you can get a financial coach, right? But you can also get somebody that's professional that can help you with the other side of things. I think different are both are important, but they play different roles. Absolutely. So make sure you're taking care of yourself. That's first and foremost. Make sure you're taking care of yourself after some sort of trauma, some sort of hardship like cancer, major life things that happen. Take care of yourself. Get the help that you need. Definitely something that I'm passionate about because it hits a little close to home. But you know what? You are a badass. I know you listen to this podcast. You're intent on being happy and taking care of yourself and doing some of the work, even when it's hard. All right. Quick recap. 4 reasons why Corbie Mitlied is so badass. 1, she's a different kind of healer. 2, she acts like a Martian. And 3, she changes her problems. 4th, Corbie is a Cancer dancer. So definitely go back and listen to the last episode if you haven't listened to it. So good, so entertaining. Can't do it justice. So make sure you go back and you give it a listen. If you love this podcast, I would be super grateful if you headed on over to iTunes and left a 5-star rating and review. Every single review rating helps me get more badasses like you in the arena doing the work. It helps other people to discover the show. So I appreciate you. Thank you for listening. And with that, we'll end our show. To all the badass women out there staying in the arena, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, own it and get after it.
Now that you've listened to this episode of Ordinary to Badass, we want to hear from you. Go to our website, ordinarytobadass.com/podcast, and submit your own experience on how you took your life from ordinary to badass and get the chance to be on a future spotlight episode of the show. That's ordinarytobadass.com/podcast. While you're waiting for the next episode of the show, wipe off the sweat, dust off the dirt, and get back in the arena.